You know, the subtitle, my name is Kent Kruger, but the actual title of this channel is The Ramblings of an Old Man. I want to talk about several subjects. I don't want to break them up into shorts and stuff. Today I was just because it keeps feeding up because when you I want to especially talk about dialects. I was studying one of my subscribers' dialects. There's an actor in Australia that's studying my dialect and Hobo's dialect, and if he hears this, I want him to understand that I'm a dialectician also. I'm a pretty good actor, but I'm not acting right here. This is my normal me. Last evening I had a very nice young black man, just absolutely couldn't. He works for Tesla. He just didn't really want to leave. I was talking to him about science and all sorts of subjects and stuff, and I have a pretty fast delivery rate. I'm not really hypomanic. But my delivery can be kind of fast, which is off-putting to people who are slow-witted. So first, I want to give a shout out to a subscriber in East Texas. You know who you are. And I was listening to your Ruby videos, and to that little bit, there's only a little bit of your voice on there, and yeah, you're kind of a mix between Texas guttural and a little bit of the East Texas nasal twang. The big thicket just south of you is full of people. Matter of fact, I ran into one of the biggest pot growers down there. That's a whole nother story. But this is kind of how the people in East Texas sound. It's so radically different than the Texas guttural dialect. Because actually what triggered this whole line of thought was I called into the Liars Club. It's a chat room that's able to keep the black supremacists out. But then again, they do that because they have some of the most offensive, and many of them, or at least 4 of them, are convicted pedophiles who like to go in there and just talk about it. They really, from an intellectual point of view, it's fascinating to study, the criminal mind. But anyway, to my friend that lives in a little town of 444 people, in or near, I was only catching little hints of nasal, and you were mostly kind of towards the guttural. But so anyway, and down in the big thicket, you're going to run into a lot of people that sound like this. Well, I'll tell you one damn thing. We was going over there, and Hobo's dialect doesn't really adhere to any of them. He grew up in Port Arthur, and even people from there will understand that. But even there, as you approach because the Sabine River is the beginning of the West, a huge cultural, linguistic, and legal jurisdictional difference between. We're not Southerners. We are Westerners. In East Texas, the only place you'll find any kind of remnants of a Southern dialect, and the Southern dialect is not really much different than the New England dialect, other than the fact that they put R's where they don't belong, like Tennessee. But I'm going to demonstrate for Cass, because this gentleman actually lives in a place that you may have been where you picked up that name, because I know your first name, Mr. Comerford. So I know that Cass may be your scream name, not your name at birth. I'll let you tell your own story, but I'm just trying to tell you is that even we guttural Texans, we old-timer Texans, still pronounced Louisiana. See, I did it right there. I didn't say Louisiana. In the way that Coonasses do, and it gets stronger the closer you get close to the Sabine River, the border between us and Louisiana and the rest of the actual South. We're not South. Let's get this. I'm not a Southerner. I'm a Westerner. we Texans are Westerners. The West really started in Texas, really. It was the first real, part of my family then went on to help on the military end of the Republic of California. I don't want to get into that story, it's too lengthy. But this is the way, even in my dialect, you heard me, we say Louisiana. And when you're doing a strong dialect, you say Lucy, and as you approach the Anna, you kind of drop, I already did this before, you kind of drop the larynx and pull the tongue back. There's really almost no, there's no glottodental, no glottopalatal. It's Louisiana is kind of the way that people in East Texas and going into Kunas land pronounce it. Louisiana. And so there's all sorts of things. Like I've run into all the time. I'll be hanging out somewhere and somebody will, as they pass by, they'll go, Heidi. And I go, you're a native Texan. You're an old timer. Because we Texans, exceptions in East Texas and stuff, they do more of the Tennessee howdy. Texas A&M was founded by my family. And I don't know how they ever got the howdy thing going. It's Heidi. Heidi. That's the way we say it. Heidi. And the term boy Heidi is an exclamatory. And also you're addressing the person as boy. It's a familiar, but we'll sometimes just say it over, boy Heidi, look at the something's on so-and-so, And this Yankee in the Liars Club was trying to correct my casual Texas dialect. We say setting, not sitting. When I'm writing and I'm doing proper prose, I use sitting, lying, not laying, lying. I lied down, I laid down. Please, I'm a member of the department, former member of the English department, Spanish department. Know what I'm doing here. I keep having people that are, actually the guy I was been chatting with for the last few minutes and stuff like that, I think Hobo is supposed to have come by on a certain railroad line near him. That's what was my joke, was I hadn't been there, but I'm sure Hobo has, and I did the funny face. So, and this morning, my knowledge of dialects, how many realized that dark-skinned man was an Afro-Arabic mix, but not Africa? He didn't grow up in, the way he was tightly controlling his R's. Already made this before this morning. Knowing the differences, was right off the bat. The way he was handling his R's, that was a red flag right off the bat. I was telling a story to Fixed Gear about how my dad, I told you I was going to ramble. Sometimes I'll be going one direction and I just decide to tell another story because it's interesting. He was telling about his dad's World War II experience and so on. And my dad, even though he was an essential worker, he volunteered, and I'm not sure if they even ever put him, he knew he could shoot a rifle with no problem and knew all about guns and stuff. And his language skills and the fact that he was already had been a paid fireman for almost a decade and stuff. They were building these German POW camps in East Texas. And as I recall, it was the one near Crockett. My mom hated it when my dad volunteered. He was technically exempt from the draft and stuff like that, but Dad wanted to help out, and they actually put him in with a bunch of Germans who didn't speak English well. He could do English, German, and Czech, and he's an easygoing guy, and he was like me. He's huge, which helps to control prisoners. The same prisoners, I'm really going this direction because I ran into a Muslim rhetorician, religious persuader, a teller of lies, not truth, not true rhetoric, false rhetoric, the rhetoric of politics, of false politics. And that saved me right there. But gosh, it was anyway. I lost my train of thought there. I was telling my dad's World War II was thing is my dad was a little too young to get into World War I, and really was considered kind of too old to be drafted, and was an essential worker. But the Army found a place for him and nearby. And that's what I was saying. My mom hated it. She was kind of, because by then she already had like 3 kids, yeah, working on the 4th one. And she hated having to uproot and move to the Crockett area or whatever. There's a big national forest there and stuff. But they needed, those were like, I'm sure, hastily erected wooden barracks for German POWs. And they needed firemen because, you got stoves in there for winter, wood stoves. They're not, you think they're like gas, or, and those guys are allowed to smoke. My dad smoked, but very little and stuff. And actually, I learned how to roll a joint from just watching my dad roll Prince Albert. This is one of the reasons that I listened to an old actor in Australia. Is I will study. I kind of like his life story. It's rustic and it's charming, and he's a student of dialects too. You have to be an actor. I'm going to kind of break off or go on another tangent. This is the ramblings of an old man. There's so many people out there that you think is such people, actors that you think are like the greatest actors or whatever. In reality, they've, in their entire filmography, have never altered their speech, their ambulation. They've never altered their posture. They've never, I watched the makeup on Cass Comer. He was actually, I thought he was just doing the voice, but no, he was a live actor, and he had to go through like a 6 hour makeup to become this kind of eerie, ghostly figure. I'm still getting into it, Cass. I mean, you presented me with an interesting, and oh gosh, she has to sit there, and you have to have a lot of patience to put up with having your whole upper body and your face and your head, having all that latex glued onto you and stuff like that. You can't smoke, you can't really hardly drink, you can't hardly do it. Occasionally they might let you sip on a straw, keep your mouth moist or something like that, or just they may spray. I'm sorry, my arm keeps dropping down. Don't think I mentioned that one of the reasons I've been trying to distract myself was this morning I noticed it on my ankle. I had a spot that to the untrained eye, they would say, that's gangrene. Even a nurse would say that. And I'm not too worried and not in a rush because it doesn't have a foul odor. I know why it was almost closed and it turned into an edema seep. And I sent a picture to my doctor friends, and they were, kind of worried, but I told them, I really think the black looking stuff was just the oxidization of the iron in the blood. It wasn't really coherent. And the dry skin is because I hate, from my time as an athlete, when you're an athlete, going back to Greece, like they would wrestle naked, and therefore rub their bodies with oil. That's why the wrestling coach, during a wrestling match, would yell out, grab him by the balls. You couldn't hardly grab him anywhere else, even on the dick. The penis, it would slip off. Especially since you're not circumcised. Not circumcised, it's going to slip off. The hand's going to, it's really, and about the only grapple hold, if you couldn't It might be able to get a hold of a finger and bend it back, but the balls were one place to go for. They're kind of sensitive. But let me tell you that people that think you're into these movies, let me tell you something. A man like me, if you try to kick me in the balls, you're just going to make me mad. And stuff, it used to take a football helmet going about 30 miles an hour and actually getting up, to actually get me down. And you recover very quickly. Now, what I found out early on in fighting was never go for the balls. That sometimes will just piss them off. You plant your big toe in their asshole, they will go down and stay down for 6 fucking months. That shit hurts. There's a certain famous coach I may expose that used to do that to his players. All of you know, my almost all my male viewers would know the name. Shit, why don't I just tell you? No, how about the mystery? Maybe I'll tell you in a future video. Maybe you ought to subscribe, because I've lost about 3 subscriptions or so or more, and the people just keep subscribing. I know one of the reasons is because I put in enough, just by nature, being a writer, I put in enough keywords that keeps linking to me to all kind of subjects. So I'm popping up. I know to work it. I usually actually, like for years, I focused on my local area and was trying to, and I kept the subscriptions. Actually, I eventually ran off some of the people that were hating on me. And that's would be my original channel is down to, I think it was up to over 150 subscribers. And then I decided to focus on the corruption within my family and within my county, having been framed 4 times and won every time by what we call misandrous or man-hating lesbians. Every one of them. They thought I was stupid. I might be an Aggie, but I am not stupid. See, we Aggies are self-deprecating. I'll get back on track. That's one of the things that even I've seen with black people. If they're about to get into a tussle, they grease up. If they're in jail, they got access to lotion, they start greasing up their hand. I don't know why they want to put it on to get all their hands, but they start greasing up like their neck area, their arms and stuff like that, and anything that's exposed. And even in like a lot of the martial arts, you're trained to actually grab them by their clothing and stuff, so you can get a grip. The grease won't defeat you. The old phrase about he's slippier than a grease pig. Grease pig contest kind of had a reason. Was that a grease pig is pretty hard to catch. See where I'm going with that? But if you want a little tip in fighting, oh shit, did I click off? Nope. I must have blocked the rangefinder. If you haven't incorporated, if you're 20 or 30 years old, if you haven't incorporated the butthole kick into your repertoire of moves and shit, because that's one that will, that's the influence of movies on people, make them do and say, even my wife, ex-wife, oh gosh, one left, could tell that she heard some stories of my life. She saw the pictures, and she would like always be feeling my nose and my ears, and she'd go, "You got the hardest cartilages." I do. Nobody's ever broken my nose. Actually, almost nobody's ever been able to hit me in the nose, and because of their right-handedness part of it, and they keep trying to pop me upside the head. They don't know how to do like a good open-handed base of the palm jab to the, no, they just don't know how to fight. I don't know why I'm telling people how to beat me up, but I'm just trying to pass on some tips to all you guys out there. Like one guy who may have subscribed anonymously, didn't show up I watched one of his videos and he let some guy punch him and stuff like that. The few guys that have tried to hit me upside the head, punch me upside there, these cheekbones is why I have some of the highest cheekbones of any human skulls in, the last, I don't know how long. But yet that's what I keep doing. I I've told you before in previous videos, every time sorry about that on my end, I'm accidentally turning off the light that helps you to see my eyes. Gosh, I kind of got that raccoon, but a reverse raccoon. I'm dark out here and then light it. Okay. There's only been a few guys that have been able to pop me upside the head with a fist, closed-handed. I've been teaching people how to fight for a long time. When you close your hand, you're more likely to break your metacarpals and even possibly your carpal. If you fight open-handed, it's less likely, and all you get is some minor tearing, muscle tears and tendon stretching and stuff. You'll recover quickly. Otherwise, the other way, it could take you a while to recover for your next bout. The few guys that have popped me upside the head, when they come up against, you can't really see it there. You're getting an idea of how big, when I'm real slender, those high cheekbones, chicks love them. That's what sells in Hollywood, is either the guys that have high cheekbones or have really no cheekbones at all. It's happening with move my right hand. Those cheekbones protect, because you're actually kind of designed to take some pretty serious blows from the head in the front. I know I recently had one. I had a grandma, many over about 3-day period. I was in the hospital by then. But especially if you hit somebody in the back of the head or upside the head, you might have a better chance of a knockout. Especially side of the head, you get that bending and pinching of the nerves coming out at like the very base. You get the craniofacial, and you get the nerves coming out at C2 and stuff like that. Anyway. You people who get into just this closed fist, save the other guy's life kind of fights, I don't do that. I find it kind of gay. And if I'm in a conflict with somebody, especially if I really perceive a threat, I will and have used lethal force. And I'm not going to actually tell you my fighting style. I'll tell you what you're doing wrong is when you close your hand and stuff like that, you're spreading out your PSI over a broad area. The amount you can, when you fight open hand the way I do, you narrow it down to a fraction of a square inch. You literally increase your damage power by it's a calculation, it's like 50 times. Depends on how you hit you. If you're trained in certain close-handed stuff, you're trying to focus on getting the first 2 knuckles in, and because the metacarpal on the outside, if you're punching, sloppily, you're going to break that metacarpal. Boxers break. That's why you think they wrap their hands. And the gloves are also to keep from killing the opponent. I'm sorry, I'm getting serious now, and I'm just hoping that I'm able to survive this festival of avarice. Please, for Christian friends that are watching or stuff like that, and Jewish friends, I'm sure there's a couple in there. I've caught a couple of names. Jesus wasn't born at this time of year. He was born in the spring. This is a creation of pretty much, I guess, the Holy Roman Catholic Church. They merged the festival of Saturnalia. That's where everybody gets drunk and humps anything that moves, yada yada and stuff, and it became Christmas. And as I remember from all the biblical descriptions, there was grass to grow, and it had to be spring, not wintertime. And I think that this is like, yes, one of the worst times of the year. The true evil nature, that pre-axial, go back to my other videos. I'm not going to get into this guy. That caveman, greedy, amoral behavior of people really comes out. And they go into debt, credit card debt, that they barely, most of them never catch up. A lot of them catch up, never catch up. And most of them don't catch up on paying off credit card debt until April. They don't finish paying off their taxes and, and stuff until the end of the fiscal year, which matches the Jewish year. Around September is Rosh Hashanah. People got telling me I don't sound like a Jew. It's because I'm a Texas Jew boy deluxe. I will speak my own dialect. I'm not going to copy some Yiddish speaker from Brooklyn and shit. I'm not going to learn Hebrew being a language scholar, because it, like ideographic, Chinese, writing symbols, and all these languages that have they're genderized. That means they're inferior to English. And you have to maintain singularity and plurality throughout the whole sentence, and you have to deal with mixed genders. And Russian, I already explained, Russian, much like Hebrew, especially please bear in mind that Neo-Hebrew is really nothing like, because we don't know. It was a dead language, just like we're not really sure about Latin because it became a dead language. I'm not going to learn Neo-Hebrew where, the word for diaper may have comes from loincloth or something like that. I know that one of the funniest sounding words in Hebrew is, I think, the word for an electric water heater or toaster. Water heater is doo-doo. Doo-doo. Yeah. Language is trippy, but my knowledge of language saved my ass this morning, and my knowledge of tactics and development of tactics, that throwing that $5 bill 10 feet past a guy who's in a truck that belongs to a company in Wisconsin and has a mill in Michigan, and Michigan is full of black supremacists and Muslims. He kept hanging around here. I was seriously worried that he was had a huge bomb in the back of that. He was looking maybe for a crowd at a mall or some soft target. May have been because the way he came on to me and shit like that, he was hell-bent because I'm trapped in a wheelchair. He knew I didn't really have the ability to just really walk away. I do have the ability to walk away from me, but he could catch up with me if he was violent and just wanted to kill one Jew, because I very quickly figured out that he was a Muslim, and I let him know that I'm a Jew. So anyway, it's 30 minutes. I've been rambling. I just wanted to kind of give an update that I think I've come up with. Well, that's one of the reasons I'm delaying and stuff like that. My skin, one of the reasons that you might think it's gangrene is that my skin is real dry and cracked around that area and stuff. It's because I hate greasing my skin from my days as an athlete. In order to get your helmet on, because in football, linemen and stuff, and big-headed linemen and stuff like that, whose helmets would pop off. If we wore the helmet that matched our head, no matter what kind of chin strap thing arrangement you had, it would pop off a man like me who's exerting thousands of pounds of force against always a minimum of 3 men and up to 4 on every play. That was my job, was to occupy 4 of the opposing 11. That was my job, and I still hold the record. So if I sound kind of pompous sometimes, it's because I have good reason to. Now, if I exhibit a little bit of hubris sometimes, it's because I have good reason to. And shit, if you people actually think that hobo shoestring is somehow superior to me in any way, I find you fuckers totally hilarious. Bring it on. I love all your Jerry Springer smack talking bullshit. When anybody with half a brain and is actually a true rail fanner knows that he's a criminal, he's a threat to it, and he's just promoting something that's romantic and, you know, an outlaw thing. And that's what draws so many people to him, is he's conned them into thinking he's a nice guy. When you can see in my public posts the picture of him with 2 other guys drawing down on the cameraman, throwing down, and he was drunk too. He could barely get that gun up. He was the last one to draw. You can tell by his little bit of speech, because he only gets to say the last line with him. You can tell he's hammered drunk, and he thinks he's a badass. And for the bit of video I saw today, I don't think he even knows how to sharpen a fucking machete right. I bet you he doesn't even know how to sharpen a hoe. He don't know how to a cane knife. He grew up in East Texas and stuff. He's close to cane land. I bet you he never swung a cane knife in his life. I think that's actually what Carl Childers was referring to. I reckon. I'm sorry, I can't go into Carl Childers right now. Sling blade. I think what he's really, that there's, when he talks about sling blade, he's talking about a cane knife apparently. I haven't asked anybody else's opinion. I'm basing it on what I know. And to him, the lawnmower blade that he sharpens up, he's doing it right. He's creating a chisel. And he whacks that bad boy, drunk, bully. Well, I reckon I'm gonna kill you. Carl, what are you doing with that lawnmower blade? Well, I aim to kill you. I love Carl Childers. That's a straightforward motherfucker. I'm sorry, I can't get into my Carl Childers because I get into character and then I won't get out of it for a while. If I really like a character and I really got it down, I'll stay in it for a while and start cracking people up. Then they'll start slapping me on because they're right-handed, they'll start slapping me on my broken arm and busted shoulder. So anyway, just a shout out to I don't know what it is now. It was 113 the last time I checked. And during the day, it had dropped down to about 107 or something like that. I lost a few, don't care. I think after I published the fact that the reason that they wasn't getting any response or shit talking from me was because their comments were hidden in a little bitty drawer back in the file, and nobody ever got to read them before I flagged them. When I flag you, you may lose your entire channel. Seriously, they'll shut you down. You got to know how to flag people. I do. So we'll see. Bring it on, hobo lovers. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Just clowning around for Mr. Comerford. Mr. Comerford, I've played in real life the badass, the heavy many times and scared the fuck out of people. And at times I can actually spot the gay guys because they like it. Like when I roll my cigarette from one side of my mouth to the other and you can't tell how I'm doing it. Even my wife goes, how are you doing that? And I bite on it and shit, and it's like kind of like a Clint Eastwood kind of thing, which, by the way, Herb Cain said that Clint Eastwood was gay and Herb was never wrong. Don't want to shock anybody here, but I trust Herb Cain more. He never published without 3 separate witnesses that were willing to go to court with him. If a lawsuit, that was about 71 or 72, he put it in the San Francisco Chronicle, I think it was. He was the inventor of 3-dot journalism. That's one of the reasons I end a lot of, I trail off at the end of sentences when I'm making public comments in social media. You'll see at the end 3 little dots. He would actually separate paragraphs or stories by 3 dots. Herb Cain said all kind of smack and never got sued once for libel or slander. So all you people who said that I'm slandering Hobo, actually nothing I've said is untrue except for what is obviously a comedy skit about his medical situation. Please, come on, really? You people were going like, you're lying. Of course I'm lying. It's called theater. The one about, update of Hobo Shoestrings medical whatever. Go back a few videos, you'll see it. I thought it up in about 3 seconds and then just turned on the camera and went with it. That's what I do as improv. I'm really good in a crowd of people. This is an inanimate object in front of me. I can't read my audience's eyes and I can't hear any laughter. I don't know what to play upon. I don't know what kind of words and phrases. This is a really difficult medium because I don't have a live audience. And I've been invited. I've actually done some live performances in clubs and stuff. I guess I'll finish with this last story, is that the blonde chick, not Cameron, that was in Big Daddy, her name is actually Chris something, gorgeous blonde, was hosting. I'm one of the people who actually brought slam poetry to Maine. Oh gosh, because they were getting it all wrong. We used to hold the regionals, multi-state, right here in Austin at the White Rabbit that year. And she asked, this is such a good story. She went around talking to people before. She was the MC and did the warm-up. It's actually great performances that night. Awesome, like the coffee beans and other. And I said, yeah, I'll do some of my short verses and stuff like that. I brought down the house, and I was the only one who was like doing, was heckling her, funny heckling, and making noises and shit and she'd like make a kind of a sexy move. I go, or and at one point, actually on camera, she goes, Kent, I just love bald-headed guys. By then I was having to shave off the stragglers after the stress of being framed and tortured for 150. Anyway, she goes, Kent, she remembered my name. Most people at that time knew. Ken, I love bald-headed guys. What are you doing Friday night? And she meant it. She wasn't fucking around. And I told her after the show, by Friday night, I'm going to be exhausted and be home in bed, darling. I'm an old man. Thanks for the offer, though. Women like smart guys. Women that are attracted to the badass, tatted up guys that talk about, will kick his ass all the time and shit like that. It usually doesn't work out. Because then she's going to hook up with the next guy that's badder than you. I'm a badass, but I don't have to go around talking about it all the time. I don't. Why? Why pretend to be something that you're really not? If you are one, you don't have to talk about. You don't have to go around acting like you're all the time. You are, and when you need it, out it comes. Actually, this morning, I was getting ready to kill me a Muslim. If he made any attempt to approach me, I wasn't going to stop. It would probably take, the first stroke it might be slow, but then second it'd take about 3 moves and he'd be down and unconscious and shortly suffocated to death. That's my legal right. This is Texas. This ain't Massachusetts, and this ain't California. This is Texas. And so 40 minutes. I'm going to look at the file, and it should be used. I'm using, that's where I ought to mention too. Hobo, I saw the film you used, ultra high definition. Dude, that's a huge, huge file. And that was one crappy video, bro. You getting on that train and stuff. I'd seen another, you cut it into several videos. You're hanging around there for a couple of days. You wouldn't making your minimum 221 miles a day kind of stuff that you need to make every day, 365 days a year, no bathing, no changes of clothes for 32 years in order to meet your 2.7 million miles. You people out there that can't do a little simple math or whatever and can't tell when he's lying, that means you're a sucker. Me, not a sucker. I rode the cyanide train.